every guy's worst nightmare getting accused like that.
Really?
Can you guess what every woman's worst nightmare is?
Well, forgive me, it's been a while since I've seen the movie, but I'm still gonna talk about it. Promising Young Woman is a mixed bag, an almost uneven thing that falls just shy of greatness. It did lull me into a false sense of its genre and where it was going, but then wowed me into two immediately frightening and important moments. I think this movie is good, maybe even really good. Is it wrong for me to have wanted it to be better? The movie falls prey to what many films with big ideas do. Weird and almost out-of-place edits to basic angles. Because too much footage and coverage was shot to cohese a mastered scene. That's okay, but is the mark of something unprepared and not fully planned. And kind of rushed a little bit. Now, the trailer for this movie was mind-blowingly good, and shocked the audience I was with back when it played before Birds of Prey. But clear and wonderfully thought-out wides are shafted in lieu of cropped-out zoomed ones. Almost like with a telephoto lens. It looks like they took the wide shots that were so great in the trailer and they kind of cropped them, and it was as if you would do that if you saw like the boom mic in a shot, or there was like a, I don't know, the Starbucks cup in the Game of Thrones scene, and you'd crop it. You know, you'd zoom in a little bit, but you really don't do that intentionally. It's not a good artistic decision or anything. That's like a major mistake, and it really does seem out of place. That initial shot of Carey Mulligan, drunk alone at the bar with her arms spread out angelically, looked so much better in the ads. In the actual movie, the camera is zoomed up on her much more closely. It seems out of place and misplaced, and the shot is very brief too. It's like instant, and they cut away from it. That happens throughout the whole thing, by the way, not just this one shot. It's indicative of the entire movie, honestly, just the way they treat that beginning shot. Understand, I'm not shitting on this movie and how it was filmed. I'm just observing that there are weaker decisions being made that directly interfere with the brilliant ones. And yes, this movie does have very wise and incredible decisions in its story. The premise is a great one too, but the script? Strip away all the dialogue and look at the events of the movie, beat by beat. You have something amazing. But the lines some of these characters say, the glue that sticks it all together needed to be better. The witty banter some of the characters have with each other is not as clever as it should be. Nor are a few of the roles, like Laverna Cox, that meet cute between Mulligan and Bo Burnham. Just some of the stuff makes my eyes roll. The movie opens with mid-shots of men in their crotch areas partying at a small bar. Like, it's all the mid-area here, you know, their butts, their crotches as they're like thrusting. They thrust and grind grossly, while the song Boys plays ironically. The first spoken line of the movie is "fuck her," as it cuts in on some men drinking off work, venting their rage at a female coworker, who is mad at them for having workplace meetings without her at a golf club that excludes women. The movie's intentions are set, and not so subtle with its messages about misogyny. One of them notices a woman nearly passed out alone on the couch. That shot I mentioned earlier. She's drunk and can't maintain her seated composure. They make fun of her, and we hear the typical language of rape culture here. She's asking for it. Why do they put themselves in situations like that? Stuff like that. A sleaze, played by Adam Brody, goes over to make sure she's okay. But we know he isn't really. He takes her back to his place, at his decision, and the Uber driver cares more about her possibly puking in the car than he does interfering with this dude who was obviously sober, taking advantage of someone who obviously isn't. This is something the movie is good at, showing all the things and people around that look the other way, that allow these bad things to happen. Back at his place, Brody offers her another drink. He makes sure to down his own glass so he is also drunk. At many points, he feigns offers to get her home safely, but interjects to lead her to his own bedroom. He begins fondling and kissing her while she is in an almost comatose state, and right where he takes off her panties is where it happens. The girl leaps upright, looks directly into the camera, and asks him what he's doing. Her instant sobriety scares the shit out of him. "You're not drunk!" Isn't that a good thing? Sometimes the movie has great lines like this, but this is the exception and not the rule. Mulligan's Cassandra has some great answers to the nice guy rhetoric and defense she hears in these scenes. Often she replies back with heavy questions rather than screaming assertions. That's a great beginning. Cassandra goes out each and every week and pretends to be drunk beyond help. And sure enough, each and every week, a nice guy offers his hand, which always leads back to his place, which is where she always confronts them, cuts the act, makes them think twice about their choices, then leaves. And over the opening credits, there's like this parody of the Walk of Shame, because she actually hasn't had sex all those nights, but it looks like she has, you know, carrying her heels, walking on the sidewalk in the morning. She keeps track of them neatly in a little journal with colored ink. Is this all she does? She works in a coffee shop as an awful barista and lives with her parents. She forgets her 30th birthday. The movie was written and directed by Emerald Fennell in her debut, and she makes it a point to cast the men who take advantage of situations like this with recognizable faces. Adam Brody, Christopher Mintz-Plasse. I think the guy from New Girl shows up later? I don't know, I've never really seen New Girl, but he looked familiar. These horrible things are committed by people you know sometimes, not strangers on the street. Maybe they're coworkers or old acquaintances. I think this was a good series of choices. And most of those actors have been known in, like, good guy roles, like Superbad for Christopher Mintz, Adam Brody on the OC. They're usually very likable guys. So why does Cassie do this? Promising Young Woman slowly unravels its story from here, and leads to some big reveals, but may honestly lose some viewers getting there along the way. This isn't exactly like other revenge stories, because Cassandra herself wasn't a victim of rape. Her friend from med school was. That little choice right there is among the really good ones in this movie. Cassie is haunted by something that happened to her friend 7 years ago. An event that has been all but forgotten, I should really say ignored, by the people involved and the people who knew about it. Cassie visits important people from back then, one by one. The movie coolly marks this with pink Roman numerals on the screen. At this point, you may think this is some man-hating piece. And it almost seems that way. But Fennell balances the issue fairly, and shows how later even women contribute to misogyny and rape culture. First, an old female friend from school. A quick and great performance from the usually bubbly Alison Brie. Not so bubbly here. Then the dean of the med school, who is also a woman, which makes her denial of the case from back then all the more painful. That scene would not have been half as effective if a man played the part. I won't go into more detail, because I don't really want to spoil it. But they all utter lines that perpetuate this behavior. That happened a long time ago. There's not enough evidence. Stuff like that. Friendships have been lost to Cassandra. She had even dropped out of med school. All because she refused to ignore what happened like everyone around her did. Mulligan is good in the role. Fennell definitely made it a point to cast an older woman. Mulligan is 35. This kind of thing wouldn't really work with a college-age lead. I realize it's a promising young woman in the title, and she's almost middle-aged, but 35 is still kind of young. But at the same time, she's playing a 30-year-old, and since this med school stuff happened 7 years ago, I think it works. Lines in the movie note this too, about her age, about how she isn't hot enough to act the way she does. Now I'll go no further, because those 2 moments later really wowed me and I don't want to spoil anything. And the movie is so good at some misdirection. Too good, actually. There's some cheesy teen romance vibes I got that turned me off from the whole thing. A scene in a pharmacy in particular is the dumbest shit I've seen all year, but all in service of the story. Yes, it goes somewhere. Yes, I was tricked on purpose, and goddamn that revelation is amazing. A moment between Mulligan and Brie. That's all I'm going to say. And a climax that features the movie's best shot, and is so horrifyingly real I felt everything they wanted me to feel. I didn't see either of these things coming at all. But then the movie continues. God damn it. Then it almost cheapens and betrays what it earned with a silly Hollywood ending. Yeah. It was so close at getting to where it should have gone. A dark movie about dark material with a dark premise should end darkly, right? Some more highlights though. Jennifer Coolidge as her mom, wording the societal pressures that women face. Although all her lines suck. I mean, she's not great in the movie, but her role is important. Back to that balance I'm talking about, showing how women contribute to this problem too. It's important that the mom is the one pressuring her to things she doesn't want to do. Get married, move out of the house, all that shit. The importance of a man being in her life. And Clancy Brown as her father, who the movie earnestly depicts as the most innocent and kind influence on her. More balance, see? The father, a male, was the nicest and greatest character in the story in terms of treating her kindly, letting her do what she wanted, being very supportive of her all the way through. So I'm conflicted on this movie. I like it in the end. I think it tackles important and relevant subject matter. I think that revelation is amazing and shocking and powerful, and makes that pre-ending climax hit like a ton of bricks, and that sequence is filmed perfectly, and borrows one of the best and most famous shots in all of cinema. Also used in The Godfather, also in Jaws, also in many epics. I think it's in Sancho the Bailiff too. Bryan Cranston used it on one of the episodes he directed in Breaking Bad in the final season. And the acting is mostly good all around. I like Mulligan in the role. She appears droopy and walks uncaringly, because too much is on her mind even when her face doesn't show it. But the best performance in the whole movie belongs to... well, I can't tell you because I don't want to give it away, but so much will make sense when you get there. But how I wish those weak angles and edits were fixed. It'll make repeat viewings hard, especially with that goofy love story sap in the middle. And I was a little puzzled by the set designs and backgrounds in a lot of her rooms. I know I'm too fucking dumb to understand what that was about. I really don't understand a lot of things like this in the filmmaking world. Does that all pink room depict Innocence? The one where her and Alison Brie have that final... back and forth. What does it mean? And it's so bizarre. A lot of the choices, again, I'm just probably too stupid to realize it. I'd love to read somebody else or see somebody else's video explaining what was going on. I'm sure there's stuff I missed. More than open ears to see what that was about. But yeah, I'm a moron. But Alfred Molina shows up at some point in a fucking spectacular appearance, whose character and motives beautifully reflect something else. And how good the movie is at showing how people don't care about things until it happens to them personally. And the horror-like musical score at some scenes is extremely effective. Some of the other music choices, though, I could have done without. I do like the violin instrumental of Britney Spears' Toxic. That's blasted in all the trailers. So Promising Young Woman is good, but deserved a better script. Such a great premise, and a great title. I wish Fennell had spent more drafts tightening it up, and adding something more. But that's just my wishful thinking. It's an ambitious undertaking, and she accomplished what she set out to do. But just a little bit more of a push, and this could have set the world on fire. Instead, it's a good movie we have to settle for. That ending, I'm telling you, that fucking ending really did betray and cheapen the whole fucking thing. And it's like this ride of, okay, that's a weird choice. Oh, that's a great choice. That's a weird choice. And you don't know where it's going, and that whole romance really doesn't work, and there's a fucking stupid teenage sap shit in there, and then it leads somewhere, and you're like, holy shit, I was tricked. This is actually amazing. Briefly amazing at that pre-ending. And then the ending happens, and it comes out of fucking nowhere. It was like slapped on by some producer who said it's too dark. Or maybe it was in her script. Maybe she wanted it to be a feel-good ending, like, because it's fucking American Hollywood. I don't know how I would have ended it without me spoiling anything, but where it went was like kind of mind-blowing that they had the balls to pull that off, and the confidence there, and just to give up, just to lose the courage of your convictions at the very fucking end in the last few minutes. But Alfred Molina, I gotta say, he is so fucking perfect. He's only in there for a few minutes, and it's amazing. Who he is, what he represents, listen carefully to that scene. Notice what Carey Mulligan does to him and says to him, compared to everybody else. It's fucking perfect. Proves there's hope and redemption. That honestly blew my mind when I saw that. I was like, fucking amazing. Molina was so good. But the movie kind of does have an old Hollywood feel, and Mulligan looks like an old Hollywood actress, so maybe that was the point. Maybe it was going to end in a Hollywood style. But there was also some really dark shit, like Cassie is doing some very fucked up immoral shit to get what she wants. Maybe that's the movie's point. Maybe in the pursuit of justice and revenge, you become the thing you hate, and you start doing things that you shouldn't be doing, but again, they shouldn't have done it either, so I don't know. It was very uneven. You see what I mean? And again, the filmmaking, it's so shoddy. Almost shoddy. I mean, the trailer made it look so much better filmed, and really pay attention to when she meets Alison Brie for lunch and that with the wine. The shots, just the insert is just like, it's so almost amateurishly done, and then just the cuts and the crops to her faces, and just these edits that feel out of place. It's not like jarring where they're like breaking the 180 or you feel disoriented. It's just like, oh, really? Like, oh, that's a weird edit, and that's a weird angle, and it looks a little bit blurry on the outside, as if the color correction and lighting was a little bit off. I don't get it. I don't fucking understand. Maybe I'm just being a little harsh on it. I'm saying this one that I liked the movie, and I am recommending it, and I warn you about that middle fucking awful romance, and I warn you about how some roles really don't work, like Laverna Cox. I was shocked that she was in this because I thought she would have a better role. I understand why she was in it, because she's a outspoken activist for feminist rights and LGBT rights and all that stuff, but her lines in the movie weren't that good. I just don't understand. Why isn't she fired Cassie? She sucks as a barista, and Laverna Cox has to like scold her, and That didn't work for me. I don't fucking know. I would have written her a better role. If you're gonna cast Laverna Cox, give her something to do, please. Like they gave Alfred Molina's role. He was amazing. Holy shit. And then the other person whose performance is the best, I can't say. Great acting. Damn. So you're really gonna have to suspend your disbelief for this. A lot of the stuff that she does. The scene with the dean wasn't as good as I thought it was gonna be. I think it was a great choice to have that woman. That woman was good in the scene, but the lines, what she does in that scene, why didn't she get arrested immediately? And it doesn't work. It feels really cheap. And this movie makes up for it with those two reveals I talked about, especially the second one where the best shot in the movie happens. And that was the payoff. That was the holy shit, they actually did it. And then they just took it away. So I don't fucking know, man. Mixed review, mixed bag. Overall, thumbs up. Check it out. Tell me what you think. God almighty. I really want to talk about spoilers, but I'm not going to spoil it for you because that's the best part of the movie. But I'm a man, so what do I know, right? Whatever. And the guy in the hat and leather jacket, he looks like Patrice O'Neal.